From crushing the highest stakes poker games to seeking ancient wisdom across the world, Dan Jungleman Cates has always pushed the limits of what's possible. Now he's on a mission to help others unlock their full potential. Get ready to level up. This is Winning the Game of Life, presented to you by Dan Jungleman Cates.
I think a lot of people that are listening to the podcast would like to hear about the story of you losing 10 trips in a row to Vegas or having issues with house games, just because I think, no one's really perfect. And certainly with someone as much success as you, to hear that you've had something as struggling, and struggled as hard as like losing 10 trips in a row, that must have been very frustrating, especially when you're trying to have all
You're
these.
right, and people like to hear some of the like to hear that it's not just straight up, and it's not just straight up,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we're talking about those. So I mean, I'd go back to Madison, I'd win 2, 3, 4, 5,000 in my game over a couple of weeks, and I'd go back to Vegas, and for 9 trips in a row, I think maybe on the 7th trip, I did it to myself, Jungleman. I ran out of money, and I'm sitting with and I even used up like all of my change. And so I'm caught in a Vegas hotel room with zero money, Maybe I had like 40 cents. And I somehow have to get to the airport. I have to check out of the room. I'm not even sure that I had the money to pay the checkout in the room. Probably did, but I think I'd prepaid but anyway, I don't think I had a credit card. And so I remember that was miserable. And I told the taxi driver, I said, listen, before I got in the cab, I said, listen, I have zero money. Can you take me to the airport? And he said, what the hell? Takes me to the airport. I called my mom. I'll never forget. This is a very, huge moment. You're spotlighting one of the big moments in my life. And my dad picked up the phone and I'm like, fuck. My dad is a PhD, a JD, an MBA, and he hated that I was playing poker. And he's like, well, I think you should, hitchhike home and learn a lesson the hard way. And I'm like, Jesus. I'm like, listen, I have money. I did have money at home. I had like $800, in cash. And I said, Mom, just pay my plane ticket and I'll give you the money when I arrive back home. It was like $220 or something for my plane ticket. And she said, this is the last time I will ever help you because you have 4 younger brothers and sisters. And to their way of thinking, I was a compulsive gambler, right? I was an addict. And, they were, I guess they were partially right, but they were mostly wrong. And so she paid for the ticket. I gave her the money immediately when I arrived. And so it's not like they ever helped me. My parents, all right, you floated me money for, 7 hours till I can pay you back when I landed. But I didn't blame them. They didn't have a lot of money and they had 4 younger brothers and sisters. They had to pay for their college, or they want to start giving me a bunch of money because I'm playing poker. No. So, but that was a really tough moment. I remember, Jungle, I was really hungry and I just ate a ton of peanuts on the way home. And I remember hating peanuts for like 10 years. Every time they brought me peanuts on the plane, I'm like, no, for like 10 or 15 years, because it's such a bad experience just to gorge yourself with peanuts because you had nothing else to eat. And, my story isn't as bad as a lot of people's, because I was able to pay my mom back. So there's some responsibility there. And I never made that mistake again. I said, I'll never leave myself in that spot again because I can't depend on my parents. And then I got a credit card after that. And of course, I made a bunch of money in Madison again. Probably got my bankroll up to 4,000 or 5,000. Went back to Vegas again. So 9 losing trips in a row, mostly playing casino games. And then by the 10th trip, it was the strangest thing. I started winning all this money playing poker. And I felt sick. I called my mom. I said, why do I feel bad? I've won all this money. She said, you're used to losing. It's a new sensation. I said, well, I hope I get used to this sensation. So I remember I left 10 or 11,000 winner, which was a lot of money. And I kind of developed the habit of winning from then on out. But it wasn't easy and it wasn't straight up. There were times where I busted myself, Jungleman, cash-wise, but never asset-wise. So I bought a couple of cars, and so I'd have, $50,000 worth of cars, a watch, a bunch of money in my retirement account. And so I'd be low to my last 1,000 or 2 on cash. And I just always seemed to run it up from there. It was kind of crazy what desperation can do. And then, and then I bought a penthouse condominium for 185,000 after I won the main event. And so, I paid it off though. There was no money borrowed, and I had a car and a penthouse condo. And so from that sense, my life was amazing. But then I'm fluctuating between $1,000 and $5,000 in cash, and I refused to borrow money on the house. I refused to borrow money from my friends. And so I would drive up to Escanaba, Michigan, from Madison, 4 hours on Wednesday. I was married with a kid, and I would play 10-20 poker for 3 days, and I'd come back with $2,000 or $3,000. And, there was some work involved back then.
Before we get into that, just a quick announcement from the Jungleverse. The Jungleverse is a community that gives you the tools that you need to both crush, get support from the right community in order to succeed in poker in your kind of way. In addition to tools that help you to get better at poker, you've got tools that help make your life easier in a difficult world, such as a justice system, rakeback tools, a community that supports you, working together for your best interest. It's designed to help you find your own kind of way for success, and maps to help you find the best games. The Jungleverse is here to help you. Just click the link below and let's all win together.
I think I had two major challenges. One being poor bankroll management.
Mm-hmm.
I was taking shots very often, and so there were a lot of times where on more than one occasion I lost half my roll in a single day, which you're not supposed to do, generally speaking. Yeah, and I was always fortunately able to mentally reset and go back down and grind and build back up. But I was fortunate those opportunities were still there to grind back up, and kind of all the stakes in between. So that was one. I think the other one is confidence. I think a lot of players are overconfident. I think I'm underconfident, or at least I was. And I mean, I still am at times. And I think it's generally a good thing to be somewhat underconfident when it comes to, how much you're willing to lose against somebody, or game selection, or things like that. But and questioning your strategy, revising your strategy, studying, always questioning the plays you make. I think it's good from that perspective. But I think that to execute at the highest level, you need more confidence in yourself than I think I have. And so I think sometimes I struggle making the plays that I should make due to a lack of confidence. So that's one of the bigger battles that I've fought.
So how did the 1-3 go with $800? Did you just win or what?
No, it went kind of how you would expect. I ended up having to, after I lost that, which didn't take long, maybe 2 visits to the casino, I ended up having to borrow money from a childhood, one of my best friends, pretty much. I think he loaned me, I want to say $1,000 or $500. And luckily that bullet worked out. I want to say that bankroll, but it's not even a bankroll. So yeah, I somehow over the next month or two was able to, maybe probably longer, I was able to run that up to 10,000, and then I hit a bad beat jackpot for 7,000. So I was pretty much rich after that.
Oh, all right. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Just to win I never heard that one, to win the bad beat jackpot and borrow money from your friends. That's
right when the stuff was popping off, and I was walking through a bookstore, and I stalled at Dang Brothers on a cover of a magazine. It was a poker magazine, and they looked so cool, and I was like, damn, who are these dudes? So I downloaded Full Tilt, and I was watching these guys play these giant stakes, and as I came up, the ranks and the small stakes, I always felt like I just missed the boat, because I was getting to the level where I could play in the games with those guys that originally inspired me. And then, I saw you smashing everybody heads up right around the time right before Black Friday, and I was just below getting to play those games. And I definitely didn't belong in them at the time. But the revolutionary moment for me was after Black Friday, whenever I thought, we all got screwed, and we did, but I thought it was a horrible time for all of us, and ended up being the biggest change for me in a positive way was I became roommates with Ben Tollerine, also known as Ben 86.
and I saw an elite poker player, and it was like this moment of realizing how ignorant I was to thinking that I was a really good poker player when I just wasn't. And I saw what it took to be a good poker player and what a good poker player actually looked like. And that was kind of like me being reborn as a poker player and me being re-inspired in 2012, 2013.
You had your poker, what was it called? Awakening.
That's right. Yeah, it was unbelievable. And I think about, how confident we can all be as poker players in spots that we really shouldn't be confident. And to me, it was like, oh my God, like I thought I was good at poker and I'm terrible and I'm clueless. And this guy is so good. And like it messed with my confidence for quite a while, but it really should have, it was dumb confidence. It was unearned confidence, ignorant.
I started playing in 2004, and really for the first several years, I didn't have that much success. Like I was grinding extremely hard and barely making ends meet. But also at the same time, like, by 2007, like I had a lot of people that wanted to stake me for higher stakes that I couldn't play on my own. So even though I pretty quickly, within a few years was playing big buy-in tournaments, personally, I wasn't doing so well. I was barely making ends meet. And then when Black Friday happened, I was, devastated because the little bit of bankroll that I did have got stuck on full tilt. And I was living on Scott Seaver's floor for the entire summer after Black Friday.
Wow, that's pretty crazy.
And yeah, just like borrowing money to be able to eat, and then just playing tournaments because I was really deep in makeup back then. I had like 400,000 in makeup at that point when Black Friday happened. So I was in bad shape. I had no money of my own and 400,000 in makeup to work through. So they were just like loaning me money for food. And I was sleeping on an air mattress in Scott's floor at Panorama. And then, I just wanted to keep playing turns. I mean, I had been grinding like a lot of cash games, both 6-max and heads up at like,
okay.
I was playing like 1-2 6-max and 2-4 heads up. I played a few million hands of cash games on my own money. Yeah, before Black Friday. And then also was playing tournaments, like getting staked for higher stakes tournaments.
Okay.
But when Black Friday happened, I figured cash games were going to probably be a lot worse and tournaments were still going to be great. So I just decided at that point to focus on tournaments. And I thought the best tournaments at that point would be in Europe for the next few years. So I was just entirely focused on grinding European tournaments and also making my first trips out to Macau at the same time for their tournaments. And that's kind of when things turned around for me. I mean, my confidence was always very high because of, the fact that, Scott Seaver and Ike Axton were willing to back me in tournaments. So, they were always, very supportive of me, even though I was personally doing quite poorly.
Yeah, that must have
I
been...
just went out to Europe and just started playing everything I could, and then things kind of turned around from there. I was making a little bit of money in cash games on my own, but that was just going towards like living expenses. And then I was just getting destroyed in tournaments. So it definitely makes things difficult, but I just wasn't ever willing to give up. And then I got to Europe and then things kind of turned around. The games were really good over here. And, within a few years, I was completely on my own, still selling action for like, 25Ks and up. But otherwise, I had all my own action and everything else pretty quickly after making it to Europe.
Apparently you almost went broke. Like, what kind of numbers are we talking about with almost going broke? What does that mean? Because that can mean a few different things. Did you have like 1 million roll and it went to like what, like 100K or like something?
No, I only went broke I went broke when at times where I had recently been broke, and it was like smaller amounts. I think once I got over 100k, I never went broke. Like, I had 100k and lost more than half of it once or twice, but I lost like 20 or 30k twice.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think there's an interview of me saying that, and I just meant that. Like, my first time where I got to 20k, I went to Bahamas for PCA and came back with like $200 or something,
Oh, okay, yeah, that's.
and then just went
that-
back to.
I mean, that's kind of intense. What did that teach you? Anything? Like, was that like, was it useful, or was it all just pain? What are we talking about here? Transformation.
I mean, at the time, it didn't feel too bad in the sense that Charlie was like, I was traveling with Charlie at the time, and we were still living together and playing together a lot, and he was just very aggressive with his bankroll management, and I was going the same route, and I think we both kind of had the view of we were beating online and live cash so you could make it back. So it was just like, okay, let's go and see, gamble with this money, maybe we bink something, and if we don't, we can just like carry on. It wouldn't change much anyway, you know. You just like go back and you're still playing the same games online. That I didn't need that much money to play.
Yeah, no big deal. Just lost all your money. Like, just win it back. No problem.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the time there was maybe some like over optimistic confidence in like how easy it would be to make it back.
Well, things were different back then. You know, there was a lot more games. I mean, to go from, to get to 20. Well, I don't know actually how hard it'd be to get to 20k, but like the whole grind from like 0 does not sound like fun at all. Just having to drop down, but it was very liquid. I remember that.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely. I mean, I don't know actually how hard or easy it would be these days, but at the time, you know, it wasn't even like I needed the 20k back either. Like, yeah, you'd like to be at your previous high point, but like, you know, at the time it was just like, I want to play poker every day, and I want to get better at poker, and the like gambling was a fun part of it too. So, you know, I could have come back from Bahamas with more than the 20, and that just happened to be one of the times that I came back with a lot less. And then we just went back to what we were doing before.
I want to hear more about how you rose in stakes, and that's it's a very colorful story to get into poker, from army to poker.
First month went great, and then the next month I did my first heads up challenge. I did 2. So the first one was like not publicized at all. It was just me and a dude online, you know, and I was cooking at first, but then I eventually fumbled the bag at the very end. It was also like kind of interesting because it had like escalating blinds. So like the first 10k hands were played at like 500 NL, and then the next like 4,000 hands were played at like 1k, and then the last 1k hands were played at 2k NL. It's like big stakes for me back then. Yeah, right? It's a cool idea.
That's like pretty, I've never heard of this kind of heads up challenge where you keep moving up in stakes.
Yeah, it was very it was a very low key challenge though. It was on a little crypto site that is now defunct, called blockchain.poker. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
No.
It was it was a very cool site. You would play in crypto. I think Seals with Clubs is kind of similar. And I went on like a huge upswing after that. So I lost the heads up challenge, unfortunately. But then I started going on a huge upswing. And I was playing a lot of live poker. So I was playing on like this crypto site where I was making some money. But I was playing a lot of live poker in the Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Parks Casino, Borgata area.
I heard this stuff was quite good, actually. I heard that the online games in New Jersey and all that were very good to play in if you happen to be located in those areas.
Yeah.
Before we get into that, just a quick announcement from the Jungleverse. The Jungleverse is a community that gives you the tools that you need to both crush, get support from the right community in order to succeed in poker in your kind of way. In addition to tools that help you to get better at poker, you've got tools that help make your life easier in a difficult world, such as a justice system, rakeback tools, a community that supports you, working together for your best interest. It's designed to help you find your own kind of way for success, and maps to help you find the best games. The Jungleverse is here to help you. Just click the link below and let's all win together.
I'm a bit curious about your origin story. One thing that stood out to me was that you lost all your money. You lost your entire roll during Black Friday. Was it your entire roll, 100% of it, or what?
I mean, not. I did have some money that I put aside, but I was in the process of grinding up my bankroll, and probably you know that from your own early days of your career. You know, you leave most of your money on the poker sites in order to grow your bankroll. But yeah, I was pretty much everything, and then I had a few thousands left, and took some money and redeposited and grinded up again. But it was a pretty big hit of my bankroll. It was super frustrating, right? You look into your account and suddenly it says some message from FBI or I don't know which agency was involved, and you probably know that's not going to end up well. And I was just on my way to play sit and go mid stakes. And you mentioned 100,000 sitting or tournaments. Most of it was sitting goals. So yeah, and then I had to take some money from my bank accounts to deposit again and then continue playing, or trying again basically, and start lower again. But I'm actually happy I didn't give up. I was really considering to give up because I think we all know the pain of early days playing poker and grinding up a bankroll. But it was kind of surreal for the first 1 or 2 weeks. I was just like, is this really happening? Like, is it just all gone? And but then at some point, after mourning about it and complaining, just what, nothing you can do. I did it once, so I can do it the second time.
Actually, reading about you, you're a bit more similar to myself as I thought. It sounded like you were not successful in the beginning with poker, but you kind of grinded it out and worked your way up. And you also originally started with video games, it sounds like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was. I would say I probably played a couple of thousand games without much success. So less than 2K in profit or something, and mostly it was like I was probably winning on like up to $50 or $100 buy-ins, and then I just randomly played 2, 4, and 5, 10 heads up, or like played the 200 Sonic or like a 1K or something. So it was was not great bankroll management, and then I think I got it was really good for me because the moment I was good enough to play basically everything, I couldn't donk it off anywhere anymore. So that's I think led to me building my bankroll.
All right. Well, sounds like you made a wise decision. Unlike many tournament players who made all their money and decided to donk it off.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I think after we were successful, especially with my group of friends, it seemed really hard. Like there weren't really many spots where it felt like, oh, now this is a spot to lose it all back. Like never really felt close. Like obviously I had downswings and I lost money, but it never really felt like, okay, now I'm going to lose it all.
I think I read that you had a bit of a drastic Black Friday situation. Is that right? What was your situation?
Similar to everyone else, just having most of my net worth on these poker sites. And, taking 5 years to get it back, pretty much having to relocate my entire life to another country I'd never been to before. Same story a lot of people have. It wasn't nothing too crazy, but, I had some friends that literally had their whole net worth on there. I know Tokes, he had a house that he had just was buying in Vegas and he owed the deposit on it. He had, I don't know, 300-400K on full tilt, and that was pretty much all his money. So he got pretty screwed there. Ended up not being able to buy the house. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of those stories, right? Like everyone that wanted to keep playing professionally and, for a living pretty much had to move out of the country or give it up and get a job, And I have friends, John Fiore, Pimping You Ho, man, he's my buddy. And, he was a good player back then and he just didn't have the ability to up and leave, and there's other players too that just had to do other stuff, get jobs, and John was an entrepreneur though. He started his own business, so that's always good. But yeah, I mean, I felt for people then, man, because there are a lot of people that gave a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of hard work to become better poker players, and then it was just taken away from them.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy times, but it seems like you things worked out pretty well for you. Did you get out?
For sure.
Did you get into crypto also?
Yeah, I've
Don't
been in
remember
crypto
that.
a long time for crypto. I got in, I want to say like 2013, I believe. It's almost 10 years ago. I bought my first Bitcoin at $70.
Damn.
Yeah. But I mean, I've had so much up shit happen to me since then, man. I should be way, way more well off than I am. And I got hacked for $10 million.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that was bad. Bad time in my life, man. I honestly almost killed myself over that shit. It was pretty horrible, man. It changed my whole life. I had just had a kid, and if I didn't just have that kid, I honestly don't know if I'd be here today. I was in a real bad mental state when that happened. And, I still never really found out how that happened, even though I'm pretty positive I know who it was. And it's pretty sad. Sad stuff. And a lot of people know who this guy is. He's in prison right now. He's going to be getting out soon. And yeah, it sucks, man. And then I had another situation a couple years ago where, like a hard vouch, an investment thing where I ended up having to pay out 100 Bitcoin. And obviously, at the time it was worth like 4 million. Now it's what, 66.2 million today, so
Yeah, shit.
these are insane numbers, bro. These are numbers that people don't even make in their lifetime. And I'm over here, got hacked for that and then had to pay this out. That's the thing with Doug, man. Like questioning my integrity over $4,000 GoFundMe when I, paid out, multiple millions of dollars in a hard vouch. Like, bro, what are you talking about? Like how many people in this community do you think would have paid that hard vouch? Because like to me, my reputation ain't worth $6 million. You know what I'm saying? I still paid that shit. Like, it is what it is. I did the right thing. It my whole life up. It's the second time, my life got turned upside down overnight. This one was on somebody else's mistake too. It's not even something I did, so it's even more painful. And right after that, I had to pay out another $500,000 hard vouch for another friend that up and some sports betting stuff. And it was right after I had to pay the other shit. So I had to sell my house for $1 million. Didn't even get a single dollar from it. Had to pay out everyone. And so, I mean, yeah, like, okay, Doug, I'm scamming the community for $3,000, $4,000, but I paid out a fucking $4 million hard vouch. Like, what are you talking about, bro?
I don't know if he knows about those. I definitely didn't know about those ones.
I mean, I think he knows because it definitely got posted. I remember JMO commenting on it and stuff, and I'm pretty sure I ended up posting something on Twitter at one point when I was just like tilted as fuck about him running his mouth about me. And I think he knows, but he don't care about that. That's not what he cares about. He wants to talk about the stuff that's going to make him money and get him clicks, right? So, he don't want to say good stuff about people, man. He likes to say bad stuff about people.
I guess bad stuff sells more. I guess that's what he knows anyway.
Yeah, man, he knows what he's doing. That's why I refuse to believe that he actually believes the stuff that he says. Because, like, no one with a brain that's functioning is really going to think, that I did anything wrong, And I know he's not stupid, man. I know he's not stupid. He's a smart dude. Like, that's why he's had success in everything he does. Like, but sometimes, like you said, that's what sells, man. So it is what it is. Like I said, I'm past the Doug stuff. I'm over it. I'm not gonna say I'm squashed the beef, but I'm just like I don't need the beef in my life. I don't need the negativity. You know, I'm a positive person, man. I'm a fun person. I like to go out and do fun shit and chill with my friends and my family, and I don't need Doug in my life, you know. So it is what it is. If he wants to go off and make videos about me, then go ahead, bro. Like it is what it is.
Well, why don't we talk about how you managed to recover like from these massive losses? Or, I mean, do you want to talk about how you were able to not get crippled by these sorts of things? Because those are
They
some big
crippled me.
numbers,
They crippled me,
huh?
bro. They definitely crippled me. I'm a grinder, man. I work hard, bro. There's not many people that work as hard as me. I'm always doing shit, man. Like people don't see it, they don't realize it, but behind the scenes, I'm doing a lot of stuff, man. And you know, they crippled me pretty bad. I got pretty fortunate to make some good decisions with crypto. After that, put myself in some good spots. The ICOs, you know, those were crazy days. The ICO days were nuts, you know, and you got pretty lucky on a couple of those. You know, a lot of those flopped into zero, but we had a couple home runs in those. So I mean, I just always working, man. I'm always working hard, always doing shit. You know, obviously when you lose those kind of numbers, man, you lose a lot of motivation. And you know, like I said, those were pretty trying times in my life. And the first hack was real bad because after that happened, crypto tanked like 70% or something, like in the next like couple months. So, you know, I lost a lot of money. I mean, a lot of money, you know, and like I said, man, I got suicidal and shit, and I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. It was really, really bad, bro. And I'm just glad that's over. You know, I'm glad that's in the past, and I'll never get back to where I was probably, and I'm fine with it. It's all relative, you know. I'm comfortable. And I live in my dream house, man. You know, Costa Rica was a blessing for me. Best thing that probably ever happened to me. You know, I went there for 6 months and I left 7 years later with a wife and two kids. Amazing family, man. And, you know, I got all my friends and shit, you know, half of them still, I had a bunch of friends that still live with me. You know, I have three of my friends that live in Costa Rica live with me now. And, you know, it's not a normal family here. You know, it's wild. It's kind of like that show Full House. You know, I got all the live-in uncles, you know, except I'm married. I'm not just a single dad, but yeah, I mean, you know, these guys, we all been living together for a long time, and two of the three guys, you know, we've been living together since before my kids were born. So my kids don't even know life without them. You know what I mean? And like Josh, we went to Bahamas last year. He's Canadian, and they wouldn't let him back in the country. We were coming back to the U.S. from Bahamas, and they said he had overstayed, and they sent him back to Canada. I had to hire a bunch of lawyers, and you know, that's another thing. Like, you know, I spent I think $15,000 just to get him back in the country and to get him a visa. You know, and these are things I do for my friends. And you don't hear Doug ever talk about that stuff, right? You know, I'm just grifting 3,000 for the community for GoFundMe. You know, you don't talk about all the other stuff I do. And you know, that was trying times too, man, because he was gone for 5 months. It took I think 5, 6 months, maybe a little longer, 7 months. And you know, my kids were devastated, man. Like they love that guy, you know, and you guys know Josh. He was on my rail at the final table. He's the loud one. He's the funny guy, the big guy, you know, and he's great, man. He's great with my kids. My kids absolutely love that guy. So they were devastated, man. That was tough to watch my kids be so sad over that, you know. And obviously, you know, we got him back in now. Now he's got a visa. Oh, you'll love it. He's got a visa as a professional athlete now, as a
Oh,
professional
really?
poker player. Yeah, P1
Oh,
visa as a
shit.
professional athlete. Yep, and through poker. So an internationally recognized poker athlete. So that was kind of funny. I was kind of shocked when the lawyers were like, "This is the route we're going to take," and I'm like, "This ain't going to fly." Like I'm wasting my money, you know. But they think they're great, man. Now he got 2 year visa. He doesn't even have to leave because you know Canadians can only stay here for 6 months out of the year, so he don't even have to leave now. And then every 2 years, he can just file to reapply, and they said it should be pretty easy to keep renewing. So you know, all this stuff happens for a reason. It's pretty nice because now he doesn't have to leave, you know, a couple months out of the year. And you know, when he's gone, man, my kids are sad, man. They love him, you know. And same with the other guys that live with me, you know. It's just like It's not a normal family, I'll tell you that.
I heard of that one. I mean, that's a pretty crazy problem. Also, I'm glad it got resolved. That
Yeah, it was
I don't know,
brutal.
you can be reunited with your family.
It's funny too because everywhere we go, everyone they think Josh is my brother. They're like, "Oh, your brother this, brother that." I'm like, "Well, we're not brothers, but I mean, we're brothers, but we're just not blood brothers."
You're not literal family, but like, I mean, who's your family? It's who you're close to.
Exactly.
At least that's how I think about it.
The Jungleverse is a community that gives you the tools that you need to both crush, get support from the right community in order to succeed in poker in your kind of way. In addition to tools that help you to get better at poker, you've got tools that help make your life easier in a difficult world, such as the justice system, rakeback tools, a community that supports you, working together for your best interest. It's designed to help you find your own kind of way for success, and maps to help you find the best games. The Jungleverse is here to help you. Just click the link below and let's all win together.